Hello everyone, I am George from Ireland. Well, this video is about Rule Britannia, a song which has recently become highly contentious, though it's been around since 1740, because the last night of the proms is coming up. That's early September. I think it's the first Saturday evening of September. The prom concerts usually go on all through July and August at Royal Albert Hall in London. That's the United Kingdom's largest concert venue, can seat over 5,000 people. And the last night of that, they have a guest conductor from another country or from the United Kingdom, and it ends with a medley of patriotic British songs, like Land of Hope and Glory, and then Rule Britannia. Anyway, so because of the BLM movement, some people are saying, well, it's just not apposite to be playing this one, Rule Britannia, because everybody knows the chorus is Britons never will be slaves. And of course, it was written at the height of Britain's slave trade, just when many Britishers were going to West Africa and purchasing people, sometimes kidnapping them directly, but usually buying human beings from other African nations who defeated the neighbours in war and taken their captives and sold them into servitude. And these people forced onto ships, having no idea what was happening, where they were going, often never seen the coast, had no common language with their captors, and chained up in the most abominable conditions most of the day, having to defecate and urinate where they lay, squished in these insanitary conditions, huge numbers of them dying on the voyage, just being unceremoniously tossed overboard if they died. Some were simply murdered on shore because they were unlikely to survive, and taken several weeks across the ocean to various islands in the Caribbean or to the mainland of the American continent, and forced into servitude, working from dawn till dusk under the lash and all the rest of it. Anyway, so what I propose to do is tell you more about this controversial song. Some people are saying that crucial line shouldn't be sung, or should none of it be sung, should it just be an instrumental, and so on. I think it actually should be sung, because yes, the United Kingdom has been evil sometimes and wrought great wrong in other people, most saliently the transatlantic slave trade, but nevertheless there are good things about the United Kingdom, and they should still be sung. If you don't like this song, don't sing it, or don't watch that concert, all right? Life's too short. Write your own song. Go to a concert that you do like. Anyway, so this is by James Thomson, a North British writer, playwright, and it's part of a forgotten play called Alfred, which was performed for Frederick, Prince of Wales, i.e. the father of George III. That Frederick never became king because he predeceased his father, George II. First performed at Clivedon, a stately home in Berkshire, happened to also feature in the Profumo scandal. Anyway, and this is the only thing from the play which has really taken off. And of course, the play Alfred was about King Alfred, so-called father of the English Navy. So you can see why that's a theme which runs through this song, as in maritime might. But back in the time of King Alfred, the year 870, he inherited the crown of England, really only ruling Wessex, as in southwest England. It's almost prophetic, as though there's some sort of presentiment that England, which was feeble, which was divided half under Danish rule, would one day become incredibly puissant and a master of a quarter of the globe. Obviously, all bunkum. I mean, I know Britain did become powerful, but nobody saw that in the 9th century AD, when England and the British Isles as a whole were kind of on the edge of the civilized world, perceived as barbaric, underdeveloped by many. And remember, King Alfred only claimed to be king of England, not the rest of the British Isles, and only controlled a small portion of England. Anyway, here it goes. So, Rule Britannia by James Thomson. When Britain first at heaven's command arose from out the azure main, this was the charter of the land, and guardian angels sang this strain. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The nations not so blessed as thee must in their turns to tyrants fall, while thou shalt flourish, great and free, the dread and envy of them all. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the skies serves but to root thy native oak. Rule, Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The haughty tyrants ne'er shall tame, all their attempts to bend thee down will but arouse thy generous flame, but work their woe and thy renown. Rule, Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. To thee belongs the rural reign, thy cities shall with commerce shine, all thine shall be the subject main, and every shore it circles thine. Rule, Britannia, Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The muses, still with freedom found, shall to thy happy coast repair, blessed isle, with matchless beauty crowned, and manly hearts to guard the fair. Rule, Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. So quite often it's misquoted. I know it's sung and there's some repetition when they sing it, and that's just it as a poem, as in, and Britons never, 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 never will be slaves, saying never several times. Okay, so I'll go through it and do an exegesis of the lyrics. When Britain first at heaven's command, so that's heaven, representing God, ordered this to happen, arose from out the azure main, azure being the idyllic colour for sea, and the main is the sea. So the formation of the world, the globe was covered by water, and then the island of Great Britain arose from under the sea. I mean, it's singular, so not including Ireland. It's not the British Isles as such. Anyway, because of course when he wrote it, the United Kingdom was Wales, Scotland and England, not Ireland. We were separate back then. And it goes on to say, this was the charter of the land, and guardian angels sang this strain. So angels were fluttering about, and in their seraphic way, they said these words. So this is a message from God, all right? Rule, Britannia. Britannia, rule the waves. No, this is not rules the waves. Okay, this is an imperative. So Britain was ordered to govern the ocean. Britons never will be slaves. And then it goes on, nations not so blessed in thee must in their turns to tyrants fall. So other countries aren't so lucky, they'll be ruled by tyrants from time to time, while thou shalt flourish great and free. Okay, so get rich, be mighty, the dread and envy of them all. So they'll all be frightened of you and they'll all be jealous of you because you're so magnificent. So it's highly self-flattering. Rule, Britannia, Britannia rules the waves, Britons never will be slaves. Well, Britons occasionally had been slaves. Some of the vagrancy acts under Elizabeth I, if you were persistently found to be vagrant, you could be enslaved, or there was penal servitude, could be sent to the colonies in America as a slave for crime, or to Australia subsequently. So sometimes there had been. But, there was open chattel slavery in Eastern Europe well into the 19th century, say in Romania, or the portions of Europe ruled by the Ottoman Empire, serfdom in other countries to rush up to 1861, serfdom abolished in England in the 1570s. And serfdom is not outright slavery, but it's close. But even at this time of the 18th century, there's still wife sales going on into the early 19th century, as the novels of Thomas Hardy shall attest. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke. So every time the foreigners try and hit you, attack you, you will just become mightier. That which does not kill you makes you strong, you see. So you will become more kingly, as the loud blast that tears the skies. That means the wind, the noise of the gale, the blowing through the sky, serves but to root thy native oak. That only actually makes the oak tree put down deeper roots and be more strongly and firmly planted. The wind doesn't blow it over. Well, it does sometimes. Rule, Britannia, Britannia, rule the waves. Britons never will be slaves. The haughty tyrants ne'er shall tame. So these dictators and dictatrixes who rule other realms, they might try to defeat you, but they shan't vanquish you. They should never gain control over you. And every time they bid to best you, to make you bow down to them, they shall fail. Will but arouse thy generous flame. So that simply awaken your patriotic fervour and work their woe and thy renown. So it'll simply lead to disaster for them, and you become even more famous for the splendid victories that you shall win over your nemesis. Go on to the next paragraph. To thee belongs the rural reign. Okay, so you'll rule over the countryside. Thy cities shall with commerce shine. Okay, you're getting very rich. Everything's glittering with that silver and gold. All thine shall be the subject main, as in the main meaning the sea, not rivers. That's the main bit of the water. So you'll control all the seas and every shore that circles thine. So the sea all over the place. Now, when this is said, this is broadly true. The Royal Navy was the strongest in the world. Not so long before, the Dutch had been stronger, but the French and the Spanish Navy was still formidable. This was more slightly wishful thinking. As it turned out, yes, the Royal Navy did win. But, if France or Spain had bested the Royal Navy, they might have been able to invade the United Kingdom successfully. So sometimes it was touch and go. And this is actually just before the War of Austrian Succession began. And then obviously there was a Jacobite rebellion as part of that. So Thomson was a Scot who wrote this, and it's for the Hanoverians who were not entirely popular at the time, having come over from Germany not so long before. Muses still with freedom found. Remember the Muses, these 12 figures of Greek mythology, these nubile ladies who represented poetry, art, memory, history, various other things. And now I know we have a muse is I think on something, and this is my inspiration to artwork. But the muses were different. They were personified by various images in classical mythology. And of course, classics were the mainstay of education in the 18th century. So the muses still with freedom found shall to their happy coast repair. So artistic inspiration and all these great achievements will come to you. You'll be very gifted. Blessed isle with matchless beauty crowned, as in Great Britain is incredibly lucky because it just luxuriates in the most resplendent countryside, and manly hearts to guard the fair. So there'll be valiant men to protect you. I know the fair can mean like the marketplace, but I just think it means the whole country in this case, all of it together, the fair. And then there's another rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. So it's under the mandate of heaven. God has ordered you to do this. And there's no reason to believe that God has ordered Britain to do that. But it's partly British Israelism, replacement theology saying, Britain saying we are the new Jews and we're the chosen people of God and so on. And again, that's complete bunk and there's no reason to believe that. Anyway, that's what Rule Britannia actually says. And that's an interpretation of it into modern language. So please help me out, donate to my channel. I urgently need donations. You can donate to me on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Callahan spelled Callahan. That's all small letters. Thank you so much. Toodle pip.